Okay, good evening, everyone. Broadcasting live, September 12th. Today we have a quote on compassion, I believe, from the Visuddhimagga. Oh no, here it says DHPA, commentary to the Dhammapada. Probably also the same quote that's in the Visuddhimagga, same passage. Robin, would you please read the quote for us?
Yes. Compassion is that which makes the heart of the good move at the pain of others. It crushes and destroys the pain of others. Thus it is called compassion. It is called compassion because it shelters and embraces the distressed.
I can't pull up the link. That's funny. Anyway. That is moved. I like that word move, no? It's a good description because there's a fine line between being moved and being affected in the sense of disturbed or upset, becoming sad. Moved is just the opening it up as a possibility and the change in weighing, of options. So you normally suggest that a person would do nothing, but a person with compassion, with an open heart and an empathic heart, it makes them inclined to naturally move towards helping other people, towards freeing others from suffering. And the rest of the quote, it'd be useful if we had the original, because it's actually trying to explain the word karuna, not the word compassion. And karuna comes etymologically. I mean, they offer several etymologies, and that's crushing and destroying somehow could be related to the word karuna, and sheltering and embracing as well could potentially be related to the word karuna. The words for shelter and embrace, can't think of them. Or maybe it's the distress. The word distressed has something to do with compassion. Karuna. Yes, compassion is another one of the four. This would be in a broader context of describing each of the four Brahmaviharas. Compassion is special, though, because it's one of the qualities of the Buddha. I consider that the Buddha, the reason the Buddha taught, the reason the Buddha didn't practice for his own enlightenment and be satisfied with that was due to his great and overwhelming compassion. Let's see if we can find this. Yeah, it'd be difficult. We could find it in the Visuddhimagga, but I was thinking maybe we could find the story. Anyway, don't have too much to say. Nothing I can think of that comes to mind. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, there's a question already.
Mm-hmm.
sorry. Have been practicing Vipassana meditation. I started to sometimes get the feeling that I didn't change place when I walked from point A to point B, but merely the scenery changed while I remained in the same place. Is this sensation a cause for concern, or can it be considered a mark of progress? Thank you, Bhante.
The only mark of progress that you should be looking for is, well, not looking for, but recognize, is understanding of impermanent suffering and non-self, in the sense of those things that you thought were permanent or you clung to because of a perception of permanence. You now don't cling to them because you see that they're impermanent. Or those things that you thought were satisfying, you now don't cling to them because you realize they're unsatisfying. Or those things you thought you could control, now you don't cling to them because you can't control them. That's about it, really. And so this experience is impermanent suffering and non-self, impermanent, unsatisfying, uncontrollable. And so any value judgment you might place on it is going to be a cause for suffering, because you'll cling to it and you have this misunderstanding that somehow it's going to be stable, satisfying, or controllable. It's not. So it's not a cause for concern, it's a state that is different from another state. If anything, it shows you impermanence, that before it was like this, before it was like that, now it's like this. It shows the instability of reality. Reality can change, your perception, the way you look at things can shift. That's impermanence. Non-self as well, because you're not controlling it. But it's suffering as well, because it's not according to your desire and it's not going to satisfy you. And no, this isn't really a sign of progress or anything beneficial. There's no benefit to be had from that state, except seeing impermanence, seeing the three characteristics.
Can compassion with oneself lead to diligence?
Compassion for oneself?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, again, I don't think you can cultivate compassion for yourself. It's not fruitful. It's useful as a example, but doesn't actually lead to any higher state of awareness.
How can panic attacks be managed?
The symptoms, look at the symptoms, because the symptoms are not the panic. So focus on the symptoms and you'll forget about the panic. That's one part of it. We panic because of the symptoms. We panic and then the symptoms, and then we panic based on the symptoms, and it becomes that's why it becomes an attack, because it snowballs. So, mostly focus on the symptoms, but as well the panic, going back and forth. Being able to differentiate between the symptoms, the physical symptoms of the panic, and the panic itself is useful. Being able to break up moments and not get caught up in the whole problem, the attack, because a panic attack doesn't exist. It's just the idea you get, oh my God, I'm having a panic attack. Actually, there's lots and lots of experiences, the thought, the worry, the concern about it, the panic, the physical aspects.
There was a good question the other day, right at the end when it was getting late and everyone was tired, and you said, "Do you want to answer this one?" And I obviously didn't answer it the way you would, but it was a good question. It was about, when negative feelings keep coming back, you're being mindful of them, trying to be mindful, and they just keep coming back. I think you would probably have a lot more to say about it than I did.
Well, we're not trying to get rid of anything by being mindful, except delusion. But even then, it's not about trying. It's the effort isn't to make things go away and never come back. The effort is to see clearly. And part of seeing clearly is seeing that things aren't the experiences aren't under our control. So that they keep coming back even though you don't want them to is a clear sign of impermanent suffering and non-self. That's what should be what you'd expect to see. That you can't make them go away just because you want them to. And so it's much more about tolerance and non-reactivity than about changing what you experience and what comes back. Even bad feelings, because they're only going to go. They're only going to go once you stop reacting to them. Once you stop giving them power over you.
Either we're all caught up on questions or people are still meditating, one or the other.
I got a good group, good number of people.
Yes, mostly green.
Okay, so what about doing the news?
Sure.
Let's do one night a week, maybe Monday night. Is that a good night?
Sure. Yeah.
We'll do Monday night news. Is Monday a good news night? I don't know.
Sure. I mean, any night's a good news night. There's always stuff going on.
Okay, but we need more people to join the hangout.
Yes.
So this means we need some people who we know a little bit. Is there anybody else there who we know?
We had all kinds of people in the hangout on Reddit today. That was so nice to see because usually everybody's camera shy. So that was awesome. So yeah, there's always people we know.
Maybe we don't need a panel. I mean, we should open it up, but maybe we shouldn't like require it.
Well, we could open it up because there's always the Q&A panel. You know, you can open up the Q&A panel, and people can input, you know, by text.
News story. People can input news stories.
Yeah.
Instead of questions, they can, or with questions, they can post a news story and ask us questions about it. Or they can just post a news story. Do that.
The most interesting news story I read today was there was a write-up in our local newspaper about the 17 Republican candidates for president in the U.S. and their religious background. And it was interesting. You know, most of them had started out at one thing and changed to something else. And they had all this, you know, interesting history. One, Bobby Jindal was born a Hindu, and he now considers himself an, what was it? Oh my goodness, the word just went out of my mind. Well, a Catholic and sort of an evangelical Catholic, which is an interesting combination. But apparently half of his district is evangelical and the other half is Catholic, and he's just getting everybody there. So it was just interesting, but there were no Buddhist candidates at all. Not surprising.
Not surprising. I have a question.
Yes. Are you comfortable in the new place? Oh, actually, I skipped a big question, but...
Is it a question? It's a big paragraph.
Yeah, I skipped that one. Sometimes when I meditate, I become aware of my body feeling heavy and numb. Shortly after this, maintaining mindfulness seems to become much more challenging. In other words, I'm having to refocus more often. Is this normal or a sign that I might be not sure.
Sounds like you lost focus.
Yeah.
Sentence.
It can happen.
Well, mindfulness, can be challenging, and I mean, it's always going to be challenging. Don't expect it to get easier. It's something you have to do here and now. Forget about the past, the future. Do it now.
What causes that when you know, I've noticed that as well, just parts of your body, like sometimes my hands will feel extremely heavy, like they're just sinking into my legs or something. What causes that?
Let's say concentration will cause that. Sometimes you feel very light, sometimes you feel very heavy. I think my teacher would probably say piti.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's And that's just a classification, but the point is that it's caused by concentration.
Okay.
Caused by many things. I mean, it can be caused by residual concentration. You know, if you're sort of person who does a lot of computer work, heaviness can be a sign of that. Torpor. It's an imbalance, sort of in the physical aspect, maybe in the brain, you could say. It's sort of an imbalance that works itself out if you do an intensive course. So those kind of things come less if you do an intensive course. It can also arise at one of the stages of knowledge, Bhanga Jnana. There's heaviness, lightness.
Are you comfortable in the new place?
Place is place. It's not really. Oh, I don't know. I suppose I could say. The idea of being on my own is pretty awesome. And it's not like, I don't mean not having people, but like not having a
boss?
It's not a boss. It's a culture or a institution hovering over me. Like here in this monastery, it's great. The facilities are great, but it's Cambodian, and there's a Cambodian community. People are great. The community's great, but it's still an institution, and there's traditions and practices that are, in conflict with some of the things that, it's hard to move, and it's stifling in a way. So the freedom of being my own monk. Someone interesting, I got an email today that I kind of decided I just wasn't going to respond to it. But it's by a lay Buddhist here in Ontario who I know quite well from the internet, but he's always had this sort of, just out of the blue, he'll just criticize. And so it was critical. He said, like, there's something wrong with a monk being alone. And he pointed to this other monk who had a friend, or who always seems to be with other monks. And he said, that's more accepted, and you being on your own, like, just out of the blue, really. We were having a dialogue about this other monk who was going on alms round, and it was a friendly dialogue. And suddenly he comes out of the blue, and then he suggested that it might even be against the Vinaya, what I'm doing, being alone, which is really bizarre. Because being alone is how many monks spent their time alone in the forest?
Yeah, it seems like seclusion was kind of highly prized.
Oh, often the Buddha praised seclusion. I mean, friendship as well, but being alone is an important part of the, like, there are times to be alone for sure. And staying alone for the rains, this happened a lot. So anyway, I mean, it's just, I don't know how to reply to that, because it was pretty openly critical. So I guess I have to reply and explain myself.
Is there any concern with it? Isn't there a tradition of reciting the Patimokkha with
only if there's
certain
enough
number?
monks to do it. So there is a rule, and it's kind of like, not quite a rule, but it's wrong for four monks, right? 4 monks who don't know the Patimokkha to stay together, because if there's 4 monks staying together, then they have to recite the Patimokkha, and if none of them know it, they can't stay together. But one monk alone cannot recite the Patimokkha. You need at least 4 monks. So there are rules. There's a protocol to follow when you're alone. So why would there be the protocol if you couldn't stay alone? It's bizarre. I mean, he doesn't really have a deep, and he knows he doesn't have a deep knowledge of it. It was just, I don't know. It's too long living alone. I think he wasn't into the social niceties of, not phrasing it as an open criticism. I just thought, how do you reply to that?
Maybe testing you.
He's just a little odd. Nice guy. Very smart. Very into Palo.
Ryan says your audio on the YouTube feed is muddled. It's not muddled for me. I'm not sure if
You have to go
it's just
closer.
on the. Yeah, I'm not sure if it is for anyone else. It sounds fine for me.
Could be the internet here is not so good.
Yeah, Bronson says you're going in and out, so maybe a little problem with the internet there.
How is the audio feed? Better?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell, it's fine. I didn't notice it going in and out, but
the audio only feed, there's that.
yeah. I understand that we can focus on other parts of the body rising and falling with the breath, such as the chest or even air passing past your nose as you breathe in and out. Is this correct?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, the air at your nose isn't real. You're not experiencing the air at the nose, you're experiencing a sensation. So you can focus on that sensation. It's more subtle, so it's more likely to lead to tranquility. And so we favor the stomach, which is more coarse and less likely to lead to tranquility.
You never talk about spiritual energy in your video. Is it something that people... I apologize. So often when I'm reading these, they just flip right up and I can't see them anymore. You never talk about spiritual energy in your video. Is it something that people talk of in your tradition, or is it out of context?
Out of context. I mean, well, it's not in... Spiritual energy is just energy. It's not important in our tradition.
Is it okay to meditate with your eyes open?
Yeah, I mean, you can meditate anytime, in any situation. Because vision is so distracting and so all-encompassing, especially in modern times, maybe more so, I would say. Closing your eyes has a benefit of keeping you focused.
If you find other dining places that you might find adequate that accept gift cards, please let us know. How are you doing in that regard?
Doing quite well, actually. Thank you. Actually, I wanted to mention that tonight, and just a lot of things going on today. So again, it's in my mind. It's really awesome how, this is really great, the amount of support and encouragement and just all around keeping me alive is awesome. It's something, well, I'm grateful for the support. So there's people have been sending Tim Hortons cards, and so now I've got, this morning I took the other monk here, or he took me, he drove, and we went to Tim Hortons because it was raining and I was walking in the rain, not so good. I didn't bring my umbrella. So we drove to Tim Hortons and had breakfast together. And I think tomorrow morning we'll go to Tim Hortons again for breakfast. And yeah, several places. There's this Williams Fresh store. I haven't eaten there, but someone sent me a gift card. Some guy gave me the Starbucks card, and yeah, doing quite well. Short story, long story short.
That's awesome to hear. Now we just have to get you a table and chairs, right? You have nowhere to...
I don't need a
sit
table and chairs. No, in fact, the dining room now has all the garbage that we've got. So we went. Robin and her husband drove us through the area around the monastery, looking for garbage. castaways, and we found several couch cushions and 2 beanbag chairs, and we washed them all. And we took the styrofoam out of the beanbag chairs and washed the shells. And now all of that stuff is in the dining room in sort of a circle. So the library has seats in it, and that's a nice place to meet. Just everyone sitting on the cushions on the floor. I don't think we need a table and chairs at all.
Okay. I was just thinking when meditators are there if they were eating or something, but I guess maybe you can eat on the floor as well.
We can eat on the floor for sure. Yeah. I mean, the only problem would be for older people certain people who have a problem who aren't able to sit on the floor. Would be good to have a chair or two.
Yeah.
They have these little plastic stools, like they use them in Thailand for washing when they do hand washing. You sit on these little stools close to the ground, and so they've adapted them and used them for meditation as well. We can look into that, but then we talk about that tomorrow.
Sure. Do your meditation courses start on a predetermined schedule or just whenever people show up?
Whenever people show up. But they do have to let us know. Just showing up is probably a bad idea. Aruna, when he showed up on my door, I didn't register who it was at first, and he had his luggage, and I thought someone just showed up, and then it hit me who he was. And, oh yes, right, because I recognized him. It was for a brief moment there. It's like, uh-oh, you're supposed to let us know in advance.
That's good. I'm glad he's there.
Mm-hmm. He got into the washroom finally.
Good. Yes. Yesterday he sent a message to me. Bhante had gone back to his old monastery for the weekend as the requirement of the rains, and the new person Aruna was there by himself, and he was locked out of the washroom, which that can be problematic. But he found out how to get in. I've got a bad cold and have been meditating on the physical sensations of being sick. I feel much worse as a result. Not sure why I'm doing this or what the point is. What should I be looking for?
The worst. Meditation makes me feel awful. It's funny. Well, no, the meditation isn't making you feel worse. I guarantee it. It's your own reaction. Why? Because now you're not running away from it. You're not avoiding it. Sounds funny. Practicing meditation. Now I feel awful. What a horrible thing, right?
You're more in tune with, all the aches and pains, and
Mm-hmm.
you're paying more attention to it. No distractions.
Which is awesome. Way to go. Good stuff. It's tough, I know. And who said enlightenment was going to be easy? Look what the Buddha said. He said, I won't move from this spot even if my blood and flesh should dry up and only skin and bones remain. I won't waver.
The Buddha was very hardcore. Didn't he allow monks to use urine as a medicine or something?
Well, that's different. Urine is actually a useful medicine. Look it up. It's using your own urine it can be quite healing. Urine is not waste. Is not garbage or poison. Feces is, but urine is leftovers. It's leftover. It's like purified blood, sort of, and it's healing as a salve on your skin, and it's a curative internally. Look it up on the internet. Some people swear by it.
That's hardcore.
It's hardcore. But your own urine is the best because it has your own signature. In India, it was actually a thing. It's Ayurvedic wisdom they talk about. Urology, I think, is.
I cannot figure out how to stop walking when I get distracted. I am too distracted to stop walking. Then when I finally notice the distraction, it goes away. What do I do about this?
That's fine. When it goes away, then you just say, thinking, thinking. Why? Because you don't want to doubt about what should I do. When it's gone and you recognize it, you can either say thinking, thinking, or just knowing, knowing, because you know that it went away, so that it stops at that, so that you don't get frustrated that you were thinking and didn't notice it. When you catch it, just be aware of the present. It's gone, it's past already.
The other night you said someone bought bottled water for you. Are we to understand that you don't have the water turned on in the house yet? And if so, is there a plan in place to establish that?
It's a good question. Well, not that question, but the underlying question is whether the tap water is drinkable. Because yes, we have tap water, but Hamilton, Ontario is called the armpit of Ontario. If you look at it on the map, it's kind of a joke because Lake Ontario looks like it's curved like this, and Hamilton's right in where the armpit would be. But it is a very, very dirty factory city. So I don't know whether the water is drinkable. Can you just drink the tap water? Sometimes, some places tap water is better than bottled water.
That's true, that tap water is tested many times a day in municipalities, whereas bottled water is tested less rigorously,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not sure if that's consistent everywhere.
But we should talk about that tomorrow.
Yes.
So did you get volunteer list set up?
Yes.
Okay, so we can email them. We should maybe put out a notice that if people want to get on the volunteer list, we should give them the link. There's a link they can subscribe themselves.
Do you remember what that is? I was looking for it and I didn't come across it.
In the admin, there's the list info. It gives you a link to the list info page.
Okay.
It would be mailman list info, and then what is it? Volunteer.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the admin link. You just replace admin with list info.
Okay. Using meditation or otherwise, have you explored what mind states or physical sensations occur at the time of death? I was wondering if you had any thoughts on this in general, even if not.
Yeah, well, a lot of what we experience in insight meditation is ostensibly quite similar to what one would experience at death. Probably not as extreme, but a lot of the things that we hold on to and don't realize it come up during meditation. And that's a great reason to practice insight meditation, is to work these things out before it's too late, before you're forced to deal with them. So during meditation, bad deeds that you've done, bad things that you've done, things that you feel guilty about that maybe weren't even bad things, anything that you're holding on to, it'll come up during the meditation as though in the same way as it would when you're passing away.
Having conversations with new people is stressful to me. Could meditation reduce social anxiety?
Absolutely. Stop worrying about yourself. Less ego, less concern about your own image, less concerned about what other people think. Much more comfortable as a result. There's less worrying about doing the right thing and the wrong thing. But it's a long path. I remember when I first went to Jamtong, I was terrible worried. See, being in a foreign country, you're afraid of everything. I mean, I was. I guess some people aren't. But it's if you're the sort of person who was afraid of doing the wrong thing, which I was, it gets amplified when you're in a foreign country. And so one monk said to me, he said, you don't have to be afraid. I said, of course I have to be afraid. I have no clue what's the right thing to do. And everything I do is wrong. So it was amplified, and just realizing that and watching the fact that I couldn't change it. I couldn't turn it off. I couldn't make myself not worry, not be afraid. And just watching as over the years, the habit breaks down. You work your way out of it through the meditation, absolutely. Also through growing up. I mean, part of it, there's old people have something about them that, they've gone through it, they've lived through it. Meditation's just highly accelerated and refined, and it avoids developing bad habits along the way. But as you get older, it gets easier. I think it can. Meditation's more sure.
Yeah. I felt a big change with meditation. I spent a lifetime being extremely shy, quiet, self-conscious, and 2 years ago I would not have been here talking to you. Drew thinks you need a filtration device. That
Well,
yeah.
but bottled water is quite cheap and reasonable.
Yeah. But apparently, wasn't it a problem with the filtration devices? They don't actually work.
Filtration devices work. Britas don't work. Those
Britas don't work.
Brita pitchers do nothing. They're not supposed to.
I didn't know that. If I catch a distraction going away, in other words, it is going away right now, is that an object worth noting?
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing even, or disappearing. Knowing is the best catch-all. It's just easy. You don't have to think too much. Remember, the Buddha said, "Nanimita gahi nanubhyanjana gahi." Don't pay attention. Don't grasp the sign or the particulars of the object. It's the general that we want. So just knowing it arose and it ceased is enough. But just keep it at that. Keep yourself from delving into the particulars. Oh, what was that like? Was it good? Was it bad?
When it is said that by the practice you build an island for yourself, does it mean you have less problems in your life?
Build an island for yourself. I mean, I think that's a quote of be a lamp unto yourself, be a light unto yourself. Could be island as well. Deepa can mean lamp or island. It's funny. But it probably means be an island, right? Because don't depend on anyone else. Become independent. It means that you're independent. It means that, and I guess not just independent, but also unaffected. Rising above the flood, because samsara is likened to a great ocean. The defilements are like a great flood. An island is something that is above the water, above the flood. So it's this imagery of being invincible in a sense, or safe from defilements, from suffering. Mindfulness is the ultimate safety. If you're truly mindful, nothing and no one can hurt you. Mentally, I mean. So tomorrow, another big day. We have a meeting at 12, Visuddhimagga at 1, Pali at 2. And then I'm heading back to the monastery, our monastery. And the young monk here is going to drive me because we're bringing pillows and blankets. Today was a big group of people here. So it's good that I come back for that. It's good to be a part of this community. The head monk was really happy that I was coming back, or he was happy that I was coming back, because he's not here. He's in Ohio. So having an extra monk is always good. People like to see. Yeah, one thing that it's just such a shame that I realized what it is, and a way of describing it is supporting monks and giving food to monks was so that they could live, was because you wanted the monks to live. I mean, I think that's a really good way of describing it. Why do monks go for alms? Because they need to live. Why do people give monks alms? Because they want the monks to live. But it's become, why do you want them to live? So because they are our means of they are our doorway to Buddhism, right? To the Buddhist teaching, to our practice. Them living allows us to practice, but that step is missing now, and it's become giving food to the monks is our practice, which is, I think, a real shame. What do you do when someone dies? Feed the monks. Why? Because that's the religious practice. It's not really. I mean, yes, it's good. It's great for us. We get food. It's good, great for them. They go to heaven. It's not really Buddhism. And it's not going to keep Buddhism alive. We're missing that step. I guess you shouldn't be quite so crass as to say, we have to feed them because they'll die otherwise. And it's like feeding a dog, kind of, right? It's not quite like that. We respect them as well. Feed them because we respect them.
Isn't that the first step, though, the generosity, and then you kind of build from there?
No, it's not. I mean, it's good and it helps in your practice, but the first is sila.
Okay.
You don't have to bother with generosity. I think it comes. I think generosity is like metta, karuna. Why are we generous? Out of metta and out of karuna, out of mudita. And out of upekkha, because when someone needs, you don't judge them, you just give. But all of that should come from insight, not really the other way around. But so it's like an optional. It's like a support that helps you, can help you in the practice. It's a great thing to do. It's a great foundation practice. But you shouldn't say it's the first step. It's not really. I mean, we don't want to make it sound like we're looking for donations or looking for charity. But I guess that's not what it means, right? Because charity is giving to poor people, homeless people, helping your family and so on.
I must have misunderstood. I remember reading something that had 3 tiers, and it was, and it was about giving or merit, and I thought it kind of went, generosity, dana, and then sila, and then meditation training.
It's not in an order like that. Those are the 3 ways of performing punya.
Mm-hmm.
But punya is still generally based on sankharas. It's punya sankhara. It's an arahant doesn't have it. Doesn't have the desire to give rise to punya. Punya is worldly, leads to heaven. So the Buddha praised it in the sense of people want to know how to go to heaven, so we teach them how to go to heaven, and they're happy. And more so because it shows karma, it shows cause and effect. And ultimately, it's a good thing to talk about and to teach because it helps people to let go. And it leads people closer to renunciation, to the ability to let go, to not cling. It's a good practice for sure. Generosity is awesome. Charity. I've always loved being charitable. It's great to be charitable. I fed a monk this morning. People were charitable to me, so I was able to be charitable to him. And he was charitable to me in that he drove us. And charity is awesome because you help other people and they want to help you. It just makes life so much better. People smile at you. People are happy. You're happy because you feel good. You did something good. Of all the other things I've done in my life, I did this good thing. And it's concrete. You know that was a good thing. Everything else you may have done in your life, all the bad things you did, I just did something good. And that's concrete. sometimes more concrete than meditation. Meditation is nebulous, and the beginning can be discouraging because it's hard work. So it's it's easy. But my gripe here is that it's so easy that people just fall into only giving, and the monks are certainly, well, monks often fall into complacency, because when people are giving, what else do we need to do? They're giving us. It doesn't last either. It's unsustainable. Because the reason people give in the first place is because they understand the Dhamma and they understand the benefits of giving. You have to,
When I look at pictures of Asia, the big monasteries in Thailand and everything, they look so elaborate. Is that because of the so much giving there, I would imagine?
yeah. I mean, you don't see that so much in Sri Lanka. Some of the monasteries are impressive, but a lot of them are very, very simple. It's because there's far less of this focus on giving.
More focus on study?
Yeah, I mean, people do give, and there's a big focus in Sri Lanka on giving food. So I think it's fairly rare for monks to go hungry in Sri Lanka. But there's not the obsession with I mean, there it's not even about donation. It kind of is, but it's donation for the purpose of building. People like to build things in Thailand. It's, yeah.
I've been experiencing what I believe to be rapture since I started meditating 4 months ago. I feel like I'm fairly equanimous in regards to it. Is it normal for imperfections of insight to last this long, or am I perhaps missing something?
Well, it depends what kind of rapture it is. What is it that you perceive as being rapture? If it's like the actual rocking back and forth kind of rapture, then that's something that you should stop. And one teacher said you should actually tell yourself, stop. Make it stop. Like rapture is, as an imperfection of insight, it's this getting into a rut when it becomes like a broken record. Anything like that is an imperfection of insight in the sense that it's distracting. It's not really bad, but it will distract you from practice. And there's a subtle nikanti. The number 10 is nikanti, which is subtle appreciation or enjoyment of it, partiality towards it, which sustains it. And that's hard to see. And that's why it's useful to just stop it.
Have you heard how different is the experience of dying mindful and dying without mindfulness?
Dying without mindfulness is a lot like relay, really. I mean, it's a wheel of fortune or whatever. It's quite random in many ways. Not exactly random, but there is a lot of unpredictability. It depends what in the last moment you cling to, and that isn't always a clear. Isn't something you can easily know in advance. So if you're mindful, then you don't cling so much to anything, and you certainly don't cling to bad things. You'll cling to more subtle, more refined things that you can't easily be mindful of. Of course, if you're perfectly mindful, you don't cling to anything, and there's no rebirth. But if you're unmindful, you might cling to the first thing that comes along, and who knows what that is. If you cling to it strongly enough, you'll be reborn based on that.
Simon wants to know if you're going to record your ceremony on the 20th. I think the ceremony is on the 20th, right?
Yeah, good question. I probably won't. If there's someone else around who will, they can. I'll be orchestrating everything, trying to make sure the monks get fed.
You can just leave the a live stream up, right?
You know, I really don't. I'm not that keen to set up video equipment and move stuff around.
And Simon thinks you should have your teacher on as an interview. That would be cool.
I tried to record him once, and he would have nothing to do with it.
Oh,
Last time I was in Thailand, I tried to record him. No, did he have any message for the international community? He just wouldn't do it.
feelings of hands touching, massaging my head, along with feelings of energy flowing all around it, all above it, all over it. That was the rapture, regarding the rapture.
Never heard of that. That's interesting. In your head, yeah, I mean, it's just the energy, it's impermanent suffering and non-self. The big one there would probably be non-self, in the sense that it's not something you can make go away. So as long as you see it for what it is, you can just ignore it if it lasts. And when it comes back, acknowledge it again. Be careful of any frustration you might have that it's not going away. But certainly be careful of any enjoyment of it. That's all. It's not a problem, it's just a sensation.
What are your thoughts on interfaith marriage or relationships, particularly between a Buddhist and a Christian?
Why would you marry a Christian? I'm often, it's a little bit weird to me, but, people don't take religion as seriously as I do. For me, I couldn't imagine marrying a Christian. It just seems really odd because, well, just because religion is an important thing for me. Could I mean, I couldn't, but I couldn't imagine marrying someone who's not Buddhist. I think people do it because, well, most people don't take religion very seriously. But a practicing Buddhist, I think, would have a hard time marrying anyone of any religion. I've heard of Buddhists who married Muslims, and just the horror that it brings to their families, because most Southeast Asian Buddhists are not vegetarian, and that's not a problem. But the problem is the meat that they cook. Like their children can't eat their food anymore, and things like just won't eat off the dishes, and really weird stuff. That not weird stuff, but just stuff that drives their parents, and the stress that it brings. I can't imagine. But the things people do when they're in love, right? I guess that's what it is. You fall in love and you think you've met your soulmate, and you ignore the problems.
Can you please talk more on heaven and hell?
It's almost 10 o'clock. I'm going to sleep. You want to learn about heaven and hell, go read about it. It's neat, isn't it?
How about what's a good sutta to read on heaven and hell?
The Balapandita Sutta, MN. Let's see. Majjhima Nikaya 129, I think. Yeah, Balapandita Sutta. That's the right one. Yeah. Right. Hell. This is the sutta I read to these kids who came and ordained as novices, and then that night they couldn't sleep alone. Were it rightly speaking to be said of anything that is utterly unwished for, utterly undesired, I lost it. Utterly disagreeable, it is of hell that, rightly speaking, this should be said. So much so that it is hard to find a simile for the suffering in hell. And then one of the monks pipes up, "But venerable sir, can a simile be given?" "It can, Bhikkhu," the Blessed One said. And then he goes on.
Drew says you look drained, but I guess that's probably what happens when one goes back to university and establishes a monastery all in 1 week.
Well, when you're only in the morning, 10 o'clock at night is already, you know, it's not even just the work or that I've done a lot of work. I'm not, doing physical labor, but only eating in the morning. I was teaching from 5 to 7. I've already done a teaching, and to do a second teaching, yeah, the brain doesn't work so well. Sorry.
Well, I think you did fine. Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Robin. I think we'll quit there then. Good night, everyone.
Good night.